Welcome to Across the Desk and our new series in partnership with CASDA, the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorders Alliance. This series is focused on the National Autism Strategy. We hope you'll join the conversation about how this strategy can help autistic Canadians have full and equitable access to the resources they need to live a full life. The time to have this conversation is now. Hello and welcome to Across the Desk. I am back today with the CASDA podcast series. And for the CASDA podcast series, we are doing Connect, Inform, Act, and Sustain. CASDA is a Canada-wide organization. It's the Canadian Autism Spectrum Disorders Alliance, of which I am a proud member. And I'm welcoming back today Vanessa Tomas. Now we make it fancy. She's laughing, but she has you are on mute, which is like the thing to say for 2020.
Yeah. You pronounce it great.
I make it fancy. So Vanessa is a PhD student with the University of Toronto and the Bloorview Research Institute. She is the CASDA Kids Brain Health Network Policy Fellow, and she's with the Employment Working Group as the co-chair.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. Back in almost a year ago, CASDA and Kids Brain Health Network put out this call for policy fellowship awards. And my PhD research really focuses on employment in the field of autism. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to apply to this because a big interest of mine is learning how to make that connection between research and policy to really have that impact. So I applied to this and I thankfully got the award, which was honestly one of the best opportunities and experiences I've ever had. Lots of learning and growth. And through that, I worked with Debbie Irish, the co-chair of CASDA, to run this policy working group on employment to help inform Canada's National Autism Strategy.
Which is all of it. Yeah. So, as somebody whose chief focus is autism and employment, I'm sitting here going, yay!
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's an underknown fact that we are entering the third generation of folks on the spectrum because autism didn't become a huge issue until the 60s. And so we're now in the third generation of people trying to get into jobs, maintain jobs. And of course, because it was considered a bit of an anomaly when it first began, no data was collected. So we didn't have anything to be informing policy, to be informing spending, to be informing anything. And I would say it's only in the last 10 years that there's been a strategic effort to actually collect data on autism and employment and what that actually looks like so that we are in a reasonable fashion informing policy and spending the government's money wisely.
Exactly. And I think there's just still so many gaps that need to be addressed. And in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to be doing this because it would all be great and good. But that's kind of what led to where we are and why this was a pillar in CASDA's overall blueprint document to inform this strategy.
Oh, and as somebody working in the field, thank you. So what we're going to touch off first is the employment brief number 1, the pre-employment programs. And to give you just a few statistics that if you're on the spectrum, you're not going to be shocked by. If you are working with folks on the spectrum, probably also not shocked by. But if you're new to the autism community and the challenges faced in employment, give a little listen to this. Despite many individuals on the autism spectrum being able to and eager to work, they face worse employment outcomes compared to their neurotypical peers and struggle to find and maintain an employment. In Canada, only 33% of autistic people aged 20 plus report being competitively employed compared to 79% without disabilities. Additionally, 53% of autistic people aged 20 plus report obtaining their income from non-employment related sources, which government funding and subsidies and what have you, with only 14% obtaining employment-related income. This is, a major cause of poor employment outcomes is a lack of suitable and accessible pre-employment services. In Canada, the needs of autistic individuals transitioning into an employment outweigh the current availability of resources. This is very personal for me. My son is 22. on the spectrum and looked using the traditional model for 2 years to get a job.
Oh my gosh.
Did not feel comfortable disclosing, did not have any kind of support on the job, nothing. Thankfully has been employed at Dollarama for almost 2 years, which is fantastic. However, he is so scarred by that 2 years of 55 or more resumes, no phone calls, getting a job, losing it within a day, whatever, that he is petrified to go back to school and give up this job for fear that he won't get another one.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are consequences well beyond just the employment statistics. There are real people behind this who need this support, need these policies. And I'm the mother of one. So I'm here to tell you, good job, Vanessa.
Thank you. It was my work, but also the hard contributions and work of our entire working group. We had like 10 people from all.
I have the list.
Yeah. If you want to name them,
I am. I'll go on to the next one. So members of the working group include Debbie Irish, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the Canadian Council on Rehabilitation and Work, and she is the chair of CASDA and the Employment Working Group co-chair. We have Kimberly Neal, who's the Director in Assistive Technology and Inclusive Employment Consultant with Distinct Ability Limited and Brain in Hand Canada. Carol Simpson, who is the Executive Director for Orbital Learning Incorporated and founder and CEO of Focus Professional Services. David Maloney, he works for CIBC. He's a board member of Autism Ontario and self-identifies as living with Asperger's syndrome. That's what my son has. Alan Chris, who is the CEO of Specialist Sterna Canada. Tanya McLeod, president of the Sinead Family Foundation. Tammy Morris. Ooh, I know Tim. I know all of these people actually. But anyway.
Yeah, it was a really powerful group.
It is like it's kind of crazy. Neurodiversity Centers of Excellence Manager and Assistant Director of EY Canada. I think that's Employment Youth Canada. Linda Nguyen, who's a PhD candidate, School of Rehabilitative Science with McMaster. Suzanne Londvoy, occupational therapist and mother of an autistic child. I tell you, you want something done, ask the parent of somebody who's got what you're trying to fix. Kathy Hill, it's a long list. Teacher with the Peel District School Board, and there's been additional support from Stephanie Cote and Adelina Nielsen, who are also on the CASDA Leadership Summit Organizational Committee. So lots of people making this happen. So I'm going to quickly read out the recommendation. Vanessa's going to give a quick overview, and we'll keep hopping through this pre-employment policy brief here. So recommendation 1, expand and enhance current pre-employment programs for all autistic individuals across Canada.
Exactly. Go. Yeah. And so I think even before getting into that, just to clarify what we mean by pre-employment, it's not restricted, I think, to just youth or adolescents, but it's anyone across the lifespan on the autism spectrum who's transitioning into employment of all cognitive and functional abilities. So I think I think we are making progress, but prior, there's been a lot of restrictions in that it can only be younger adults accessing a lot of supports and services. And I think we know that, like you said, right, it's a lot harder for people on the spectrum to get employment. So they might be a little bit later in their age in terms of accessing these services, but then they don't meet the criteria because they're not a young adult anymore. Yeah, so I think we're trying to shift that definition of what we mean by pre-employment programs to ensure that it's targeting all cognitive and functional abilities across the lifespan. Yeah, but basically for this first recommendation, we really want to look at ensuring that I think these programs that are being funded by the federal government are continuing to be reinvested in and expanded across Canada. So like, for example, Employment Works, part of the Worktopia network. And also ensuring that these programs are evidence-based and include key components that we know are supposed to help individuals on the spectrum obtain and maintain employment. So I have my notes here and I'll read some examples. So like including mentorship components, employment skills training, life skills training. So some of those soft skills as well, access to information and supports that extend beyond the duration of the program. So ensuring that they have these supports throughout and not just while in that specific program.
And inclusive to all autistic individuals.
Exactly.
So if you identify on the LGBTQ plus, fine, all good. If, it doesn't matter. It's an inclusive program, so check it out. So recommendation number 2, encourage provinces and territories to implement pre-employment programs within high schools and post-secondary institutions to improve opportunities of finding employment and preparing individuals for employment.
So I think this is something our group kind of struggled with in understanding that this is more under provincial jurisdiction in terms of thinking of education systems. So thinking of a way to put that into or a kind of a recommendation for the federal government is for them to provide increased funding or direction to support and expand some of these programs within the post-secondary or high school education systems. And there are some programs that do exist. Or have existed in the past. They're not expanded across Canada, but again, if these are continued to be reinvested in and we're continuously evaluating, ensuring that they're effective and sustainable in expanding these. So like community works, school works, these are different programs. I think one was in Nova Scotia. And
we have to start somewhere, right? Like that's all it takes is if you have one province brave enough to take it on and support it and run with it, then we know that we can roll it out across Canada. We just need to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Okay. Project Search is mentioned in here. And I just did a podcast this morning with Amy Widows and Lisa Livingston from Mentorability.
Oh, cool.
And Amy is part of the Project Search. We have a Project Search here in the Halton area. Yes. Working in conjunction with the Autism Job Club. And Marilyn Ellis has done a fantastic job. Yeah, she's another firecracker.
Yeah. I think that or maybe not just, but it's at Hull and Bloorview too. I've seen in the Toronto area as well. They have a partnership with Hull and Bloorview, I believe. So now it's starting to work in the Toronto area as well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, exactly, which is great.
I know from personal experience, my son tried to use a local program through a local organization, which was neurotypically focused. And he did the program for 4 months. He decided he wanted to do the program. I said, okay, off you go, son. He did the research. He connected to them. He enrolled himself. He got himself there, got himself home, did the whole thing. However, when it came to the end of this program, they came to him and they said, oh, we have a job for you. I was like, hot diggity. That sounds great.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Except, so here's my son who has a diagnosis of Asperger's. He also has executive function deficit. He has ADD. He has, a few things that if you're used to working with this population, you would ask about and look for and understand the correlation of on the job. Yeah. No. So, I get a phone call to say that Thomas has an interview with RC's. Now, RC's is a local restaurant here in Burlington, but it's a very small mom and pop shop. I mean, they've been around forever, so this is not disparaging them in any stretch of the imagination. But my son with multiple diagnoses would be running the fryer, running the ice cream, manning the cash, cooking the burgers, dealing with customers, doing cleanup, managing stock. And I was just like, intriguing. So I tend to step back and let him manage, right?
Sure.
I got a little involved and gave them a call and said, so, hey there, I understand that my son's been coming to you for support for 4 months. Oh, yeah. So, any chance I could speak to one of the counselors who have dealt with him directly? Didn't happen to be there. I said, okay, did you ever deal with my son directly? Well, yes. I'm like, what about him said, please put me in a multitasking, fast-paced, unsupported role? I'm like, you have stressed the heck out of him. He knows this is outside. You've set him up for failure. I'm like, you will call the organization and you will cancel the interview. So this is another reason to support things like this, where you're not giving anybody excuses not to do the work, but you are giving them the understanding of how to work successfully.
Exactly.
So
and just throw him in and not provide any sort of support at the beginning. Like that's hard for anyone. And it's not to say he's not capable and can't do it, but he needs a little bit of support. Like anyone would. Yeah. That's crazy. I think of back to my high school job at Dairy Queen, and I would never have been able to do that. I worked
at Licks. I get it. Yeah. I worked at Licks scooping ice cream and doing whatever, but You had one team manning ice cream, one team manning the grill, one team manning, this. No, he was expected with a learning disability and an autism diagnosis to manage all of that, because underneath that all was a funding model. And they needed a body. The program that he was going to needed a body to go into that job.
Yeah.
So,
and I think, and that's the thing. It's like, it needs to move beyond just making sure, like checking a box. Okay, we did it. We put them there. Okay, they're done. They're good. But like we talked about kind of before this, or we started the podcast, but like there's a person under there, and recognizing their strengths and also some of the supports they might require, and considering all of those things when they go into the workforce.
Yeah, that's why this work is so important from a personal perspective. We have gone through the gamut with employment and autism, and I'm telling you, this is just makes me a little verklempt. Okay. So recommendation 3, have sustainable autism specific employment funding for pre-employment programs. Absolutely.
Exactly. So I think there are a lot of great programs, I think, funded by the federal government, but not all, or I'm not sure if any, really have a specific autism focus, or even a component of the funding to have that autism specific lens, so that employers or people can apply for this funding or these grants and ensure that their employees on the spectrum are being included and targeted specifically because of their unique needs and skill sets.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but we're going to be talking again. So Vanessa and Stephanie are coming back next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Oh, next week is Bridget. I'm losing track. Next week is Brittany. Brittany. Yeah. I knew it was a bra name. Okay. So, and ensuring federal labor market training agreements and province. Yeah. So starting at a provincial level can influence federal policy, which is, like you say, the journey of a mile takes the first step or something. Recommendation 4, through sustainable autism-specific funding platforms, ensure continuous evaluation of these funded programs to ensure effectiveness and merit for sustainability efforts. So this goes to your point about being able to go from local to provincial to federal.
Yes. And also kind of what you said, right? Like like with the story of your son, just placing them in this job to check a box, like that's not enough to evaluate. Like, we've placed them here, but are they successful? Are they maintaining the job? Is there a potential for promotions and upward mobility? Like, are they even happy? Is this job meaningful to them?
That should be number 1.
Yeah, I know.
No, not in your list, but just in general. That should be number 1.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, but of course it's something that people tend to forget sometimes.
No-brainer is we won't talk about that. All right, moving on.
But yeah, so I think we're really encouraging in that, ensuring that things are being evaluated, and so that those that are successful in how you define success are being sustained and continuously funded, and like you said, starting from locally, provincially, and continuing expansion.
It's an iterative process, right? It has to be done in response to how the autistic individuals and the organizations are engaging with the program and what the recommendations and feedback indicate.
Exactly.
So to go to the point we just made, autism-specific federally funded pre-employment programs include Project Search, which is a 1-year transition to work program for youth with developmental disabilities in high school. I know the one in Halton was in partnership with Oakville Trafalgar Hospital and was having great success. Worktopia National Employment Network, government funded and under the leadership of the Sinead Family Foundation and Autism Speaks Canada. And the programs are designed to improve employment opportunities for individuals on the autism spectrum transitioning to employment. There's more details on the CASDA website, and you can visit the Sinead Family Foundation website as well. We have Employment Works, delivered by Worktopia and funded under the Opportunities Fund. This is a pre-employment program that offers job sampling, hands-on experience, and job-seeking transition support to autistic adults to help them obtain and maintain, more importantly, employment. We have a couple more. Community Works Canada, delivered by members of the Worktopia. Peer-supported pre-employment program. Oh, that's so cool. 12-week, 30-hour duration program delivered after school, and opportunity to acquire community volunteer experience and identify fields for future employment. That should be for everybody. School Works Canada, pre-employment skills development program for autistic students still attending high school, 15 to 21 years. This is the Transition Readiness and Autism Community Employment Program, 18-week provincially funded program in Nova Scotia. I went there for my honeymoon. Very pretty.
Oh, it's on my
Students.
list.
What's that?
It's on my list to visit.
Oh, don't miss it. I'm telling you. Where are you to, eh? Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. Anyway, students meet once a week for a 16-hour volunteer work placement, which is kind of cool because you're building mentorship, you're building relationships, you're building all kinds of excellent stuff. Exactly. Spectrum Advantage is a 4-week of paid job readiness classes specifically geared towards people on the autism spectrum, followed by a minimum of 3 months paid employment for program graduates. Holy moly.
Exactly. So some of those are funded at the provincial level. And I think one of the big, so we've created this table. So it's all available on the CASDA website. So you can view the full policy compendium. And if you just go to the employment section, that will be, you'll see the 2 briefs that we developed. And we have a table of all those programs. And we're really encouraging kind of upscaling and expansion of these programs because so far they have deemed to be effective and successful.
Well, they're proving that they work, right? Once you get the social proof on the concept, you're good to go.
Exactly. Yep.
So the second issue we're going to be diving into in this employment brief is inclusive workplaces, which when I was talking to the mentorability team this morning, I mean, that's a relatively new phenomenon, right? So what we're part of the thing that Spiro Careers Canada is engaging in is connecting the autism community to advanced manufacturing employment opportunities. And part of that's driven by a 45% employment gap in the advanced manufacturing sector, because you had that huge push in the 40s and 50s towards trades and all that kind of stuff. But they were starting to creep more towards office jobs. Then in the 80s, you had full, nope, don't need to go into trades. You're only going to work in an office because that's a sign of success. 90s was the .com and everybody was like, you got to jump on the internet and whatever. Well, meanwhile, the machines that make your clothes and the chair you're sitting on and the computer that you're using are falling apart because we have not created opportunity for trades to get involved. On top of that, we've been overcoming these community myths on why we shouldn't have an inclusive workplace, the misconceptions by employers and everybody on, the disadvantages of having an inclusive workforce. And I've seen a huge shift in the last 10 years towards more organizational responsibility towards the benefits of an inclusive workplace. So that's exciting to see. So the issue, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, and this is a suggestion also on the Canadian Strategy for Disability and Work, is inclusive workplaces and ensuring that the disability and the neurodiverse population doesn't get left behind when thinking about a diverse workforce, right? Because often we think gender, ethnicity, and we sometimes forget about those who are neurodiverse and, like you said, the benefits that come with hiring them.
100%. And so the issue as described here is that despite the notable benefits the autistic individuals bring to the workforce, such as consistency, precision, efficiency, and greater attention to detail, to name a few, they represent a largely underutilized talent pool and have worse employment outcomes compared to those without disabilities in Canada. In addition to unemployment rates, autistic people who are employed are often underemployed, meaning that they unwillingly work part-time hours, receive minimal pay, and underutilize their skills in roles that are well below their intellectual potential. There's many reasons for this, but that's why this employment brief is so important to bring to everybody's attention. And with the National Autism Strategy, that's one thing that's coming to light, is the importance of creating these inclusive workplaces. And I had, again, the mentorability conversation, but we were talking to the Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster up in Milton.
Cool.
Well, here's the interesting thing. And we were also speaking to the Director of Economic Development for Halton Region.
Wow.
And she said, the talent pool is so overtapped, right? So like somebody will put their name in for a job somewhere, or they'll list on, Monster or Indeed or whatever. And all of the same organizations, because they have a certain skill set, are coming after them. So there's benefits and deficits. The benefit is easy to get a job. The deficit is less employee. Wow, what's the word? My God, I'm having a moment. I either need a coffee or a brain transplant.
It's okay. It's 3:00. It's like that lull.
Fair. So it could be chocolate. So there's less loyalty to the employer because they know that if they leave, there's like 5 other employers who are begging for their skill set. And so
Yeah,
this talent pool is constantly getting overtapped, but they are ignoring this incredibly talented pool of people just through lack of awareness. That's what this employment brief can fix. So
exactly.
recommendation number 1, increase and develop employer training initiatives and opportunities for hiring and supporting autistic employees. Go.
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. You basically talk to that. There's like a lack of understanding, education, and awareness. And I think creating initiatives that help support employers, support individuals on the spectrum in the workplace, and allow them to provide, like, if they need adjustments, so not having to have, not all of them necessarily need full-blown accommodations, but just having natural adjustments embedded within the workplace, I think benefits everyone. So learning how to have some of those things, ensuring that they know how to help employees maintain employment, not just obtain it and kind of they have them on for that little period and then they're gone type thing. So really having those educational pieces around that and disseminating that and ensuring they're housed in an accessible way that employers can access.
Yeah, there's a great, I'm just reading through here. So working with community organizations to provide training and accreditation for organizations to become autism confident workplaces. We need to use that as a tagline somewhere. That is fantastic. Love that.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay. So recommendation number 2, commit to a workplace. Oh, actually, you were mentioning accommodation.
Yes.
And that's an interesting topic, which we could delve into for hours because there is such a misunderstanding of what that could mean.
Yeah.
Here's an example, folks, of an accommodation. I happen to be short. It is what it is. Desks are traditionally made for somebody who's 5'11". I do not reach that height requirement by about 8 inches. So
Me either.
consequently, chairs are made to accommodate that same 5'11" frame. So I have to have the chair up high enough to accommodate a desk made for somebody 8 inches taller than me, which then leaves my feet dangling like, some kind of toddler stuck in a whatever. So my accommodation for that is anywhere I work, I have my feet on one right now. I have to have one of those little steps, right? So that my feet aren't dangling and I don't end up with lower back pain and my knees don't ache and whatever else. That's as simple as it can be. If you have somebody on your staff who smokes, the accommodation that you make every day is they leave the office to go and have their smoke for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Either, I'm not downing on smokers, but the employer has to accommodate that, either in lost productivity or an understanding about how the breaks work or what have you. No different.
Exactly. There's this assumption that they're very costly and there's going to be a big shift to the organization if these accommodations are inputted or embedded, sorry.
Yeah.
But exactly like you said, they're can be so naturally embedded, or like speaking to a lot of different like autistic youth, like a lot of them talk about just having written instructions, less ambiguity, things that are so simple that like I think like everyone could benefit from, like
100%.
Yeah, have things written down, the tasks for the day, like things such as that, or wearing headphones, or we're seeing things come across via COVID, right? Like having more flexibility with the work hours through work from home, being able to control the environment if they have sensory sensitivities. So things such as that are so simple and not costly at all.
Not at all.
So,
and increased productivity. I think
exactly.
one of the challenges has been we have this industrial age mindset that we are slow to get over. Like the 5 day a week work week came into being in the Victorian age, so the 1800s. And it came into being because before that, people were working 6 and 7 days a week. And, the employer, this is my hours and suck it up kind of thing. And so when labor unions started to get on board, that's how we developed the weekend. Because you could only have your employees working from Monday to Friday. They got the weekend off. Little known fact.
That's interesting. I know that.
Before then, there was no standardized work week.
Wow.
So that's a relatively new development. And so it came into being. and it standardized certain things, and it standardized schedules, and it, if facilitated communication and whatever, but it's no longer necessary. And the employers who held on to that as an excuse before COVID, they got nothing now, because the economy continues to tick along. I got to tell you, 90% of the workforce sitting at home in their basement. So
still working, yeah.
still working and, getting it done. So just like to slip that in a little bit there.
No, I think that's an important point to talk about. Yeah.
Recommendation number 2, commit to a workplace adjustment accommodation fund to support employers who hire autistic individuals. Now, I'm intrigued, so go ahead.
Yeah, so I think so. We've had some comments about this one, kind of basically what we talked about, and that does this just reinforce that assumption that accommodations are really expensive and that they have to apply for external funding in order to be able to support their employees? And I think, no, that's not what we're trying to say or trying to get at. But there are some cases where people on the spectrum might have dual or multi-diagnoses or might require additional supports and needs. Oftentimes, they really don't require that costly accommodation, but sometimes they do. So to have that option available and have that funding available, I think we're saying is something that could be really helpful and really useful for employers. And also kind of, if they are in that mindset of, oh, it's really expensive, I don't want to have to pay for it, to have that external option so that it's paid for by the federal government in a sense, it will help with that, we hope. So like, for example, opportunities that are autism specific within like the Enabling Accessibility Fund, or developing similar funding opportunities that are more autism specific.
And I think it's that initial investment, right? So your ROI, your return on your investment, if you take the time to, do these initial accommodations, the benefits around your return on investment are quite huge, because the loyalty, the punctuality, the attention to detail, all the positive things that come out of the hire, versus, I don't want to go to that expense, you hire somebody else. Well, they're not going to have the same appreciation for where they are. We're not saying that this is a pity party by any stretch of the imagination, but when you've been searching for a job for years and you finally have somebody, understand your value, that's massive. Exactly. And we are in no way endorsing, abuse of that appreciation, but understand this, these human beings who need your support and understanding, they will show you appreciation in the dedication to their job. You will not have to worry about them, nicking stuff from the office or, doing inappropriate things on the computer or any of that. They know what it's like to lose. They know what it's like to be ignored. They know what it's like to struggle and have their self-esteem kicked and their self-confidence demoralized. These are incredibly smart, talented, capable, amazing individuals who will appreciate the efforts that you put in to accommodate their footrest or whatever it is they need.
Exactly. Very well said.
Yeah. So recommendation number 3, we've got a couple more, but it's so important. And I understand for some, like, this might be a long stretch, but this is incredibly important work that's happening. And because we haven't had these types of investigations and policies before, programs and funding support has been very haphazard, and not by choice, but by necessity. Like, you have to get the program out there. You have to be supporting these individuals. And it takes time to collect this data, and it takes time to create good policy that's going to influence for years to come. So we'll just run through the rest of these quickly. Number 3 is select, disseminate, and help implement best practices from federally funded programs that demonstrate effective recruiting, selecting, hiring, onboarding, and retention models used by Canadian employers to better include the needs of autistic people, shifting from one-size-fits-all model to competency-based hiring. Shall we just kind of jump into the rest of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Increase access to and implementation of on-the-job supports for autistic employees. This is amazing. This is the Accessible Technology Program. There's a few other things that are supported on here. Recommendation number 5, allow for and provide alternative methods of funding to support individuals on the autism spectrum in the workplace. And this includes things like reallocation of wage subsidy funds into selection of workplace supports. I think we're almost done. Oh, that's the last one.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the last thing, the federal programs and policies and potential to support inclusive workplaces, the federal program policies, we have the Canada Ontario Job Grant, the Enabling Accessibility Fund, the Accessible Canada Act, the Opportunity Fund for Persons with Disabilities, the Youth Employment Skills Strategy, and the Accessible Technology Program.
Exactly.
I
And
think
yeah,
that,
we're just like encouraging or suggesting that these different programs or funding opportunities have that autism lens, and making sure that that's not forgotten when thinking about these things, because as we know, it can sometimes often be forgotten. So ensuring that those things are included and embedded within those programs and funding opportunities.
and so the next time you and I chat, it's going to be some updates on the projects that you're working on
Exactly.
that tie
Yeah.
into this.
So exactly. So, kind of after my work with, in terms of the policy fellowship, I continue to help support CASDA in certain roles, and specifically the Autistic Voices Project. And so, this is related to the impact of COVID-19 the impact of COVID-19 on employment experiences. So, whether that be layoffs, unemployment, job searching, or those who are currently employed, who are maybe essential workers working on the front lines, or those who are working remotely, and the impact of that on them. And then I think, so I'll talk about that during our next podcast. And I don't want to say too much now. I don't want to spoil.
Don't give it away.
Yeah, but there's been fantastic work coming out of that. We have an amazing team. Myself, Megan, also part of CASDA, we are hiring on someone who is on the autism spectrum to help put together our lived experience testimonial videos.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're going to have people on the spectrum review the videos, making sure that they're meaningful and understandable. But yeah, so I could talk about that again for a long time. But,
that'll be next time.
Exactly.
The one final point that you had wanted to make was encouraging the CAHS working groups to use what has already been developed. So did you want to, we'll close out with that?
Exactly. Yeah. I think kind of two pieces is that one, like CASDA has always been here and we're ready to help guide this policy development process with the Canadian Academy. We have credible evidence-based recommendations, like Elizabeth read out our working group members, very impressive, lots of experience on that. So we've created these two policy briefs that we believe are very important, and for the CAHS not to reinvent the wheel, but to utilize what we've already had and expand and build upon it and use their expertise and experience to make it even better than we think it already is. But yeah, not starting from scratch and using the hard work that so many of us put in from like May to the working groups, like May to October. So lots of hard work that went into this. So yeah, I think
the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences, I'm sure, inundated right now with COVID. And so, it would be wise to welcome any help to be able to move the autism and employment agenda forward and reduce your workload and be more productive.
Exactly. So that's
not that we're calling you out or anything, but we're just
just encouraging a light shoulder nudge.
Socially distanced stick.
Yeah, to read all the work that we have done and expand on it and build on it and literally use us to help you create the best thing the best policies for this National Autism Strategy.
Yeah, research is expensive, people. Like it's not for the faint of heart when you're getting into doing this role. And if you have a hardworking team like CASDA has, who's coming together with all of these partner organizations, you got a lot of brains you can be picking.
Exactly.
Which you're not going to find very often. So take advantage. Stop being silly.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, if you're listening and you're on the spectrum, I hope we've given you some resources to go and check out and knowledge to know that there are people on your side. Fighting to help you gain employment, maintain employment, and work with employers to make the situation better for you. If you're an employer and you're intrigued by what you've heard, please visit the CASDA site. You can check out the various opportunities that are there to learn more about inclusive hiring and the employment programs that are available to support. If you're an organization and you've got something to offer, also reach out to CASDA. It's info@casda.ca. You will be directed to the person who can help you with your question. I don't even know who monitors that anymore, but it's a team effort as far as I'm aware. And I think we're done.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank
That was
you
a
so
lot of
much.
information in a short.
Yeah, I know, it's a lot to cram in. But yeah, you can read more about it, like Elizabeth said, on the CASDA website. The whole compendium's there. We're developing a tool to help link it to the different CAHS working groups that they're creating. So lots of good resources out there.
It's incredible. You guys are working like Trojans. It's nuts. It's nuts. And like I said, on behalf of parents everywhere who are going through this struggle with their youth, my son did not receive any real career counseling in high school because all they saw was his diagnosis. And it was a never ending, and I'm not saying this is for every parent, this is our story. And I'm sure parents have had incredible situations in high school. Ours just didn't happen to be the positive one. We were probably the rule versus the exception, but it is what it is. And we didn't focus on employment for Thomas during high school because he had a lot going on, and we just wanted high school to be successful.
Exactly.
So,
one foot at a time.
Yeah, we just figured if he can get through high school, thumbs up, and we'll worry about a job after high school. It's not that easy.
No.
It's not that easy. So thank you to the team from me for the work that you're doing. It's making a massive difference.
Thank you. And that's the goal, that it will, and it does hopefully make a difference. And yeah, and thank you for having me today. And if my working group members are listening again a million times.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you for all the work that they put into helping develop these briefs. And my co-chair, Debbie.
Debbie's awesome.
Yeah, she's the
I
best.
worked with her for a while. All right. Thank you so much, Vanessa. We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to CASDA.ca. There are an incredible amount of resources there. You can learn all about what we've discussed about today. The other podcast episodes will be up there. I've had the privilege of speaking with Dr. Jonathan Lai, who's the Director of Operations. I had the pleasure of having Vanessa and Stephanie on to discuss some more autism and employment projects that are happening. So busy times and more to come. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye, Vanessa.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining the conversation about the National Autism Strategy. CASDA is a comprehensive network of autistic Canadians and autism-focused organizations. Our members are united by the shared vision that a national autism strategy will create improvements in the lives of autistic people for generations to come. Please visit CASDA.ca to learn more and keep the conversation going.